Thank you for being with us and welcome back. As you can see, we're having a wonderful time with our very, very special guest, Mr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. But he's just like a local boy, I call him, because he knows all of the issues. He is very familiar here, and he is really considered a friend of the
Yesterday,
Bahamas.
he called me Conky Bobby.
Ah, yeah, Conky Bobby, yes. Bobby, we took a tour of Bain Grandstown, otherwise known as Order Hill, yesterday. What was your experience?
Again, my experience was this is a neglected resource. It's not only a neglected people who are living in squalor next to some of the wealthiest estates in the world, but it's a neglected resource. You know, it's good that wealthy people come to the Bahamas. We want that. But really, the Bahamas government needs to recognize that that town is a giant resource, the kind of place that, again, in Jamaica, there are towns like that, and in New Orleans, that people, the architecture is beautiful.
That's right.
Your knowledge of the area and the history is encyclopedic. And, you know, it was one of the nicest historical tours I've ever been on in my life. And I've been to the Civil War battlefield in Williamsburg and all over the country on kind of city tours. But you knew the names and dates of everybody who built every house, and you know, it's a colorful community with friendly people and beautiful little bars and
yes,
you know, nice place to go. But there is no tourist who ever comes from the United States and comes to Nassau who goes to Bainstown and and they ought to. It ought to be the center of Nassau.
That's right.
People should be going there and celebrating and spending money and having fun. And, you know, it's the same thing that you see in New Orleans, the same kind of culture and beauty and friendly people. And, you know, unfortunately, there's people there who are living in absolute squalor. You and I, you know, went and drank from a well that is on the sidewalk. It's a public well because people still don't have running water and working toilets in their homes in the middle of a city that is the capital city of the wealthiest country in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. So how is it that people don't have running water in their homes?
That's right.
And you know, and we need to be. I think if we had a government with vision, who share your vision that this place is not a squalid slum.
That's right.
Slum, it is an asset that we ought to be exploiting and monetizing. And, you know, the same way that we monetize the reefs and the beaches of the Bahamas, this has the same value. These the people here, the friendliness and love of the people and the beauty of the architecture and the richness of the history are things that should be part of the tour. You know, this whole idea that tourists should come here, lock themselves in a resort, and the only interaction that they have with the Bahamian people is that somebody from the Bahamas folds their towels or carries them on the golf course. That's, you know, there's so much more to this island than that. I mean, I had as much fun in Grandstown and Bainstown and over the hill as I did diving with the sharks and on the coral reefs. It's fascinating, it's interesting, it's colorful, it's wonderful, and we ought to be celebrating that.
Well, we thank you for being a vocal advocate for what we have been saying for years. It appears that the decision makers want to hide Baintown and Grandstown away from the visitors, because they're ashamed of it, because they do not understand that that is one of our greatest assets. Bain Grandstown, the older part of New Providence, we should showcase that. We should improve it and showcase it. And from an environmental perspective, you saw that and you understood that. And we were very happy to have had you on the tour on yesterday.
You know, Rashima Ingram and Joe Darville came in here, and they're our water keepers. Can we get them to come up and just appear on the TV screen for a second?
Well, I don't know if they're prepared to. Joe?
Hey, look, Joe has the moves.
Well,
Just come say hi.
well, come, Fred. Hiroshima is,
And Fred Smith,
yeah, these are waterkeeper representatives.
water keepers in the Bahamas.
Well, let me say, you look beautiful, so you don't have to, you look beautiful, so you don't have to worry. Come on, Joe, you look beautiful.
I said, you know, we have water keepers from every walk of life.
And
we
she's
have
Bimini.
fishermen, we have soldiers, we have lawyers, we have an agronomist in Peru, but we also have a supermodel here in the Bahamas.
So Joe represents Grand Bahama for waterkeepers,
Yes.
and Hiroshima represents Bimini, and Fred represents Clifton. And
And
these,
she has the blue hair of a
yes,
mermaid.
and these are leaders of the Waterkeeper Alliance, which is an umbrella organization, and they are a part of that umbrella organization here in
We
the
have
Bahamas.
342 water keepers in 44 countries. We're the biggest water protection group in the world, and these are 3 proud representatives in the Bahamas.
And they're here to ensure that we have a good supply of what drinkable, swimmable, fishable, what else?
That's it. All we need. That's
And
all
listen,
we ask for.
They're valuable people.
And we've just been taking, Hiroshima has, well, tell her what you've done
Well, we're
already this morning.
actually here just to say hello.
Yes.
We're out right now taking samples on the recreational beaches.
Well, that is beautiful, to ensure the quality of water. And when the quality falls below, acceptable standards, you make an outcry
Yeah, we informed environmental people.
so that something could be done about it. Well, this is wonderful. And,
Glad we could come on. Let me not continue.
well, it is so good.
Thank
Joe,
you, Bahamas.
thank you. These are important people, and they work behind the scenes. Perhaps for the first time, Bahamas is getting a view of persons like Hiroshima and Joe in their capacity as representatives of the Waterkeeper Alliance. Now, of course, I know Fred is the brilliant lawyer you said that he is, and Joe
Fred is bringing to the knees Peter Nygaard, who's now an international fugitive and who is a rapist. And by that, I mean an environmental rapist.
Yes. Well, Fred is a part of Save the Bays. Joe Darville is president of Save the Bays, and you are a director of Save the Bays also, an organization that has done a wonderful job here to whom we owe a deep debt of gratitude. I speak for the Coalition to Save Clifton, because following the first battle to save Clifton, we sort of waited for the government to come around to establishing the sea park. But in that time frame, a lot of bad things happened at Clifton. We, being a small organization, lacking resources, were not in a position to uncover some of the bad things that were going on down there. But here came a group calling themselves Coalition to Protect Clifton Bay, or Save the Bays, and they had the capacity, both financial, legal, technical, to uncover what was going on. And when they published that to the nation, we were all astounded. And the coalition sprang back into vigorous action to now fight to protect the bay. And so this nation owes Save the Bays organization. Of course, they were vilified, they were criticized. Many of them were declared persona non grata also.
Of course.
But we owe them a lot. And eventually, Bahamians are coming around to realizing that. Just like you said, in the provinces, some of the provinces of Canada. They'll vilify you when you begin to expose wrongdoing, but then after a while, they'll begin to accept it.
Yeah. So, I'm very proud of the organization. I'm proud to be part of it. I love this country. I love the Bahamas. I was sitting with my wife, Cheryl Hines, who is an actress in the United States, and came down here and just fell in love with these islands. And we were sitting out at Fred Smith's house watching the ocean at night and watching the clouds in the full moon. And Fred said to us, "Why would you ever want to go to heaven if you could live here?" and we were all, yeah, it doesn't get any better than this anywhere on earth. You have, I just hope the people of the Bahamas understand how lucky they are to live in this place. You know, it's there's nothing like it on earth. I've been everywhere, and there's nothing like the Bahamas.
Well, that is an endorsement that is worth its weight in gold. You talked about your wife, but we also had the pleasure of meeting your two sons yesterday. They thoroughly enjoyed the visit. They were on the boat with us, and they hit the water, and I mean, they were having a wonderful time.
Well, it's a family island. It's a wholesome, wonderful place with wholesome people, a rich history, a friendly population, and just, you know, everything about it is magical. We need to get rid of we need to stop handing chunks of heaven to these diabolical gated communities who are paying off public officials, and we need to preserve it for the Bahamian people.
Well, there's no question that you have made a tremendous contribution to the saving of Clifton, the protecting of Clifton, and indeed internationally. I recall when the battle was really raging, you were not declared persona non grata, but somebody suggested it. You remember that? In the local media, they said, Bobby Kennedy is coming here involving himself in local business. They didn't understand that nothing is local about the environment. All
But
of it is
also,
God's
you
effort.
know, I respect that, but I've been involved in many countries in environmental issues, but I don't go into a country and tell people, governments or anybody else what they should do. I go into a nation like I did in the Bahamas when I'm invited, and I'm usually invited by a group who is opposing very powerful forces that are international. So, and Clifton knew it was fighting, you know, what you guys understood is you were fighting American corporations.
Yes.
And you needed an American lawyer to come down here. So it's a David and Goliath battle that you were fighting. You're fighting your own government, corrupt officials, and driven and paid for by heavily financed international corporations. You wrote me a letter. You said, will you please come down here and help us with your expertise? We need a lawyer from the United States because they've got companies from the United States and they have money from the United States and they're overwhelming us. And we need some firepower on our side too. So I only go to a place where local people ask me who are fighting, usually people who are fighting corporations who I know, and I know how sinister and greedy they can be, and I know how they operate because I fought them again and again. And you know, there's no way for a local group who are not financed to stand up to these international powers without being overrun, and that's the only reason I come down here. But I don't take it personally when a government says we don't like you here, or when the newspapers tell me you know, I should mind my own business. I know why I came here. I came here because you invited me here, and I'm helping you, and I'm going to stick with you. And that's just part of the battle, is that you get called names, and I don't care.
Because, of course, the main objective is to intimidate you, or at least to discourage you. But that seemed to have motivated you and strengthened you, as it did us, because they attacked us. They called us everything. Well, Save the Bays, they've been through the fire also. But we have to stick to our guns. And the final phase of the protection of Clifton, that protected area, we must continue the fight. And so we are encouraging Bahamians not to withdraw, not to stand aside, but to join the fight. And we need the support. We of the coalition are still the principal organization in this fight, although we are joined by dozens of other organizations and hundreds of other individuals. And we want to say here that were it not for the international element, not just yourself, but we had people in Europe, we had people in Asia writing and encouraging and supporting us and writing the government not to allow that development. So were it not for all of those persons, I am sure we would not be where we are today. We would not have seen what we saw yesterday.
And there were you had a lot of allies here. And,
Oh, yes.
you know, and the thing I love about you is you never take credit for winning that victory.
No.
That you always share it with all of the Bahamians who were involved in that battle. There were leaders and there were little people and everything else, but it takes a lot. You know, these kind of victories have a lot of parents.
That's
and,
right.
You know, you were there from the beginning.
Yes.
And,
Well, you know, when we hosted that reception for all of the warriors, we contacted those whom we knew and had contacts for. But we put in the official gazette, in the newspaper, an invitation. If you fought in the battle for Clifton, contact us, let's get together. Because we reach out to everybody. There were journalists, there were other persons, even in the political sector. There were people in politics who perhaps could not come out to the front, but they were behind the scenes. And we just are so grateful.
One person I would mention, because he really got vilified, was Louis Bacon.
Yes.
And Louis Bacon, you know, he became a target because he's an easy target because he's a billionaire, and people tried to portray this as, oh, he's a billionaire who's trying to protect his property. But I've known Louis Bacon is one of the biggest environmental philanthropists in the United States. He preserves land all over the world. He cares deeply about the environment. He got, you know, they went after him. They slandered him. They libeled him. They, you know, said that his ancestors had been racist, and they dredged up all of this libel, slander, lies in order to discredit him, so to tar the whole movement. And it was so unfair. He's a quiet man. He's a very private person, and he doesn't raise up to defend himself. But he took a beating, and
he did.
is one of the heroes of this because he supported all of us. He
Yes, he did.
supported everybody, as you know, on the ground. He supported the people who wanted to do the right thing. He supported the rights of Bahamians to keep a public beach, and he was passionate. He used to say that beach is the only place that poor people on this island can play, and these guys wanted to steal it from, and it's unfair, and I'm not going to let that. I'm going to do everything in my power to not let that happen. And he was motivated by goodness and by equity and justice and democracy, and he took a terrible beating, and he'll never defend himself, but I want to say that in his defense.
He certainly took a beating. And this was in the second phase of the fight for Clifton, which was to protect the Clifton Bay area. Now, I have never met Mr. Bacon, and I'm glad you mentioned his name, because I would dearly love to meet him. So perhaps we should invite him to come to the Bahamas. Not to the Bahamas, but to come and be a part of Clifton's movement.
He would love that. I know he would love an invitation from you.
I think that's what I'm going to do. I think so. I am going to send, this is a public invitation to Mr. Bacon now, to come and let the people see who he really is. I've heard stories about him, like you have said, what a philanthropist he is. He is a friend of the Bahamas. But I've also seen the other stories, the negative stories that vilified him.
Yeah.
And I would like for him to come and show the Bahamian who he really is. And with your endorsement, I am sure the Bahamians would accept him as we have accepted you. Bobby, we've come to the end of the program, regrettably, because I was just beginning to enjoy it. But we're going to have you back again whenever you're in Nassau. Please feel free to come and be a guest on this program or any of our other programs. You have a final word you'd like to say to the Bahamian people?
Thank you, and please, Bahamian people, take back your country, take back your environment, and take back your government. It's time for transparency. We need to kill the cockroaches.
Thank you. I like that metaphor. We're going to use that as we go along. Turn the light on, the cockroaches scatter. Folks, we're so happy that you decided to stay with us. We know it wasn't that hard listening to Bobby. It was a pleasure for you to sit and relax and enjoy us for the last hour or so. But you've been listening to Moving Forward, the program designed to advance the interest of the Bahamas. And I think we've done that to a large degree this evening by attempting to motivate you to get involved in the fight. And so, until next time, Bobby, we thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
And we really appreciate your being here. Folks, thank you and have a very pleasant Good evening.
Only love can save us now. Only love.